Hey guys, it's Alex Eaton here, chef owner of Manship in Aplos. Like many of you, we've got a lot more time on our hands at home trying to overcome this virus. This will be our first of many episodes that we're going to be doing on our YouTube channel, so subscribe. Going to start out by just teaching you a couple of dishes that really mean a lot to me that we've had growing up as a kid. Today we're going to make some dirty rice. We also have a version of it in the Lebanese culture, which is rice dressing. I like to use dirty rice in a lot of things. You can serve it with pork chops or steaks. You can stuff squash and stuff like that together, peppers. You can also serve it with duck. It's really good. All it is essentially rice. I'm showing you how to make it with microwave rice just to make it easy on you. Some type of meat, whether it be ground beef, pork, or chicken. You can put shredded chicken, sausage, whatever you want. Some aromatic vegetables, some onions, some peppers, and that's about it. We're going to start out, I just wanted to kind of go over, we're going to start out by cutting some of our aromatics. We're going to heat up our pan here. Got a nice Butter Pack Industries cast iron skillet. With an onion, I like to cook with white onions generally. They're not as sweet and more powerful than the yellow onion. With these, I like to just cut off both ends. And when I'm cutting vegetables for rices or beans, I never want my vegetables to be bigger than the rice or bigger than the bean. So always about the same size of the bean if I'm cooking beans, and the same size as the rice when I'm cooking rice. A nice way I like to do it to get it nice and even is start like this with the onion going this way. Cut it like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip it around like this and just nicely chop it like that. Turn it over right there. Do it again. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to cook down. We've got a little piece right here. Same thing here. Right there, right there, right there. And then we're gonna flip it, okay? Onions are good to have on hand for all cooking. They don't go bad, especially if they're refrigerated. You can store them outside of your refrigerator. Another thing that we're gonna put in here is fresh garlic. I always use fresh garlic and highly recommend it. We're going to take about 2 cloves right here. It's very easy just to rip off. Then what I like to do is just come in with my knife and pap them like that, pap them like that. Pull them out, and you're left with a nice clove. This is more of a peasant dish or a slow cooked dish, so you don't have to be real fine with your knife skills. And make sure you take off your skin, okay? Just chop it like that. And then turn it right here. Alright, so we've got our garlic, we've got our onion, and now we always want to put a pepper. You can use jalapeno, bell pepper. I chose a poblano just because we like it a little spicy around here. So for this, I'm just going to use about a half, and I like to cut that half where I don't have to deal with the seeds. Cut it in half again, cut out your ribs. Make sure our pot's nice and hot. And then once again, just trying to cut it a little bit smaller than the rice. And none of this has to be perfect. Little good kitchen tip is that whenever you're having to cut a lot of vegetables, make sure that you get out your honing steel, which I'm about to show you, which is not necessarily sharpening your knife, but it is honing it. So when your knife sits in your drawer or you use it a lot, the blades go like this. And then when you take your steel right here, you're just trying to get it back to that where they're lined up, okay? So always before and after you cook, make sure to sharpen your knife, all right? So for this recipe, what I want to do is I want to start out with a fat source. I recommend bacon fat, but like most of you, I don't have bacon fat today because I hadn't been saving it. So olive oil will do for this. We're going to take a little bit of olive oil in our skillet, put it in there, And then the first step is to brown our meat. I chose beef, and I like to use 80-20, just about everything. I like to keep a lot of fat in my diet, but you could use lean, 75-25, whatever you want. With this particular recipe, we want to let it brown. So once we get it started, just let it kind of sit, and don't touch it too much. We want to brown it. And next up, what you're going to find in this recipe is chicken livers, which you can get at any grocery store. Sometimes you have to ask for them. And we're going to put them in this Vitamix and puree it until it's really fine. While you're doing this, you can also do a little baby breeze on, feed your kid. Really simple, okay? We're trying to make this easy for you. So we're going to puree these. And I know I don't eat chicken livers a lot, but for this particular recipe, it gives it a earthy and a very flavorful flavor that you wouldn't normally get with any other ingredient. Alright? So now that we've got that, I'm just going to let it sit there. I'm going to come back over here, and you'll see my meat starting to brown. I'm going to just chop it up a little bit. Little history on dirty rice. It gets its name because the rice takes on all the color and flavors, and it almost looks dirty. Okay, it's a South Louisiana dish. My mom's mother was from South Louisiana and was Lebanese, so she has that Lebanese Cajun, and they both do a variation of this. In the Lebanese culture, we would season it with cinnamon and allspice, maybe a little chili powder, whereas in the Cajun culture, they do sometimes oregano, chili powder, salt, pepper, always Crystal hot sauce, okay? So right now I'm going to just give this a little bit of stir. And to this I'm going to add 1/4 cup of the pureed chicken livers. Excuse me, 1/2 cup. So once again we're going to pour in 1/2 cup chicken livers. We're going to spread it out over our dish, and we're going to leave it alone, okay? Leave it alone. With this rice, I like to use jasmine rice. It's a Thai rice, but it's also very common in Cajun cooking. I'm also going to add some celery, which I didn't want to bore y'all with cutting up. And then we got a little bit of roasted red bell peppers. You can add anything red, such as tomatoes, peppers, pimentos, whatever you want, and it's going to give it some good flavor. Also, it'll add a little bit of color. Alright, we're looking a little bit perfect right now. We're going to give it just a little bit of stirring. And we're going to crank this up just a hair and let it kind of brown up just a little bit. We like to cook with kosher salt, just about in every cooking we do. If we use seafood, we like to use sea salt, but I like to use kosher salt at home. And then my favorite little pepper grinder, if you want to get on Amazon right now, this is called a unicorn. It's unbelievable. I give these out as gifts. They'll last a lifetime. So, now that we've got our meat going, this is the time that I like to add the spice so that the spice kind of wakes up, the dry spice kind of wakes up with the rest of the ingredients. So here's my chili powder, which is my predominant spice. Can't ever put too much chili powder. This is also what's going to give it that dirty look. Go ahead and add just a little bit of salt. You can always add more, okay? Never want to add too much salt. And then fresh ground pepper. Alright, so at this point right here is when I want to start adding my aromatics. I'm going to start off with the celery. Got my poblano pepper. Got some onion. I wish y'all could smell this. It smells amazing. And then, last but not least, the best smelling ingredient, the garlic. All right. Also, when you're cooking a dish like this, which I love dishes that build, always put everything together so that you don't forget an ingredient. A lot of times you'll forget an ingredient. That's why I moved my hot sauce over here so that I don't forget that when I season this dish, I'm going to season it with hot sauce, salt, and pepper. All right? I'm coming in here, I'm going to let my aromatics cook down. Starting to take on that dirty color that you're used to seeing with the dirty rice or a rice dressing. I'm going to come in here now and kind of chop up these little bit of clumps of meat. Alright? And at this point, I want to add just a little bit of my chicken stock. And don't be scared to use home chicken stock. So I prefer this bone broth brand. But there's a lot of good chicken stocks out there. If you cook with water, it's going to taste like water. So always cook with something with a little bit of flavor in it. I'm just going to add a little bit of stock now to kind of bring all this together. Interesting thing, one of the things we're going to finish this with is parsley. And as a kid, I remember being really little. One of my only memories I have of my grandmother is that we always had curly parsley in the home when we were cooking. And there was always just mounds of it on the cutting boards because a lot of the Lebanese cooking has parsley in it. And I remember being a little kid at about this eye level. And so parsley has always found its way into all of my dishes. Some people say it doesn't taste like anything, but for me it's more of a mental thing that the dish is complete. It's got a little bit of love and happiness in each dish. As you'll look right here, you'll start to see that all this is coming together. You would never know at this point if I gave you a bite that there were chicken livers in there unless I told you. The chicken livers have now kind of taken on a texture much like a ground beef. And it is a very, very good part of this dish that I highly recommend everybody try. Alright, so at this point now we want to add our rice. This is microwave rice. It calls for 90 seconds in the microwave, but we're going to give it a little bit more than that and do maybe a little bit more in our broth to wake it back up. So I'm going to put a pack and a half of this rice right here. And then you can always add more rice, okay? So now we've got our rice. And at this point is when we want to add the rest of our stock and really wake this dish up. This rice is going to start to absorb all of our liquid. It always helps to put bluegrass on when you're cooking, especially during the day. While this is cooking, I'm gonna go over here and wash my hands. And then we'll talk about some of the things that we might be having coming up in store on our YouTube channel. I'm just trying to bring all this together and cook it down. You always want to taste your food when you're cooking. We say in the restaurants, don't serve anything that you wouldn't serve to your family. Don't serve anything that you wouldn't try yourself. At this point right here is a good time to add some of that hot sauce. I'm going to guess on this, but you can't ever really put too much. I really like using Crystal and Cholula and some of the milder sauces because they don't have the heat, but they have the flavor that hot sauces such as Tabasco have. All right, let me grab a spoon. Alright, so we definitely need a little more salt. I don't know about you, I like a real dirty rice, so I'm going to finish off this chili powder. Hit it with a little more pepper. And just a little bit more hot sauce. We've got plenty of liquid here. Rinse off my hands one more time. Look, you can even do this while your wife's in the garage doing yoga. Crazy times we're in. But everybody's making it do what it do, and we're gonna get through this and enjoy ourselves. And looks like everybody's eating good. That's what's good. Everybody's smiling, saying hey to each other. Everybody's home. You don't have to wonder if anyone's on vacation. I love it. I love this time. I mean, I'm making the best of it. This is my favorite part. This is when you add some thinly sliced scallions. And I use the whites and the greens. And then also the magic ingredient, fresh curly parsley. And then also we've got the fire roasted peppers right here. Just a little bit. So as we incorporate this, we want to go ahead and cut off the heat. Look at that. Look at that. I'm telling you, if you want to do a jambalaya in this way, or any rice dish in this way, this is just a great way to take that little bit extra ground beef you have that you might have made for your family. Say you had a little bit left over, what can I do with it? There was only a quarter pound or 4 ounces in this dish. So this is more about the rice and less about the meat. But if you look at that and see how juicy that is and moist, and then don't be scared to save the remaining chicken stock for your leftovers when you heat it up so that it's not dry. Just put it in a bowl like that. Come back over here. Grab our little bit of parsley. Put a little bit of hot sauce on it. And there you have it. That's our dirty rice. Stay tuned for our steak kebab and au gratin potatoes that we're going to be doing this weekend. Again, thank you so much, and stay safe out there.